Mr. Speaker, I know the Leader of the Opposition is just visiting his riding, but he would spend more time.
What happened in the House of Commons today was not noise, not theater, not another routine clash. It was a live stress test of leadership, and the contrast was immediate. Under direct pressure, Mark Carney stayed calm, controlled, and deliberate, dismantling both economic accusations and personal shots without ever surrendering the narrative. Across from him, Pierre Poilievre leaned on familiar slogans, but struggled to turn repetition into substance. And later, Mélanie Joly delivered a clear warning to Washington, confronting Donald Trump's trade threats head-on and signaling a shift in how Canada responds to external pressure. Taken together, these moments revealed something deeper: how this government sees itself, how it answers economic anxiety, and how it intends to operate in an increasingly unstable global landscape. By the time the debate reached its midpoint, the difference between political performance and political leadership was no longer subtle. It was undeniable. From the opening exchange, Pierre Poilievre tried to collapse the debate into a single accusation. Rising food prices, he argued, were proof of failure. Simple, direct, familiar. But Mark Carney did not accept the frame. Instead, he moved the battlefield. When he remarked that Poilievre was just visiting his riding, the comment carried more weight than it first appeared. It questioned Poilievre's connection to the people he claimed to represent, while simultaneously reinforcing Carney's own image as a leader grounded in policy rather than slogans. It was also a preemptive strike. Carney understood his international background would be used against him sooner or later, so he neutralized that line of attack before it could take shape. Rather than sparring over isolated price points, Carney widened the lens. He talked about exports, long-term trade agreements, biofuel programs, and income supports. The exchange transformed in real time. What began as a soundbite battle became a policy discussion, and that shift placed the opposition on weaker ground. Poilievre pressed again, citing food inflation numbers and demanding an explanation. Carney did not rush. He did not raise his voice. He reset the conversation and pointed directly to farmers benefiting from expanded trade with China, billions in new exports, and programs supporting canola production and farm income. The message was subtle but firm. Economic reality is more complex than a single talking point. As the debate continued, Poilievre pivoted toward regional frustration, especially in Alberta and rural communities. He spoke about fuel costs, transportation pressures, and the rising burden on producers. This time, Carney did not dismiss the concerns, and that mattered. He responded with specifics: exemptions, relief mechanisms, coordination with provinces. He demonstrated fluency in how policies function on the ground, not just how they sound in speeches. The contrast sharpened. One side leaned into emotional messaging. The other relied on administrative competence. For viewers paying attention, the difference was visible. Poilievre challenged Carney directly, inviting him to visit Alberta, to speak with farmers, to explain fuel charges and taxes face-to-face. It was meant to corner him. Instead, Carney accepted the premise without hesitation. He spoke of returning to his home province, of supporting farmers through new markets, biofuels, and targeted exemptions. The exchange ended not with a viral moment, but with something rarer in modern politics: steadiness under fire. Then the focus shifted beyond Canada borders. Mélanie Joly took the floor and addressed the growing impact of American trade actions on Canadian industries. She drew a direct line between unjustified tariffs and job losses, investment uncertainty, and economic disruption. Crucially, she refused to let these pressures be reframed as domestic failures. This was not about mismanagement. She argued it was about sovereignty. Her message was clear and deliberate. Canada will defend its workers. Canada will defend its industries. And Canada will not stay silent when external pressure threatens domestic stability. As she spoke about auto workers and ongoing coordination with provincial leaders, one point stood out. These workers were not collateral damage of Canadian policy. They were victims of unjustified U.S. tariffs. Naming that distinction changed the tone of the debate. It reframed responsibility. And it signaled that Canada's posture on the world stage is shifting from quiet endurance to active defense. By the end of the session, the lesson was unmistakable. In moments of pressure, performance fades quickly. What remains is clarity, preparation, and the ability to control the narrative without inflaming it. Today was not about who spoke loudest. It was about who stayed steady and who proved they were ready when the stakes were real. Why, she asked, are they not denouncing that? Why is Canada not standing as one team? Because that unity, she reminded the chamber, is exactly what auto workers are asking for. Not slogans, not blame, results. Mélanie Joly then shifted the focus away from arguments and toward outcomes. Concrete ones: battery plants, electric vehicle manufacturing, advanced production facilities already taking shape. She named communities. She cited job numbers, thousands of them. The message was deliberate and unmistakable. Canada is not waiting for stability to return on its own. It is actively building it. In this framing, policy was no longer abstract. It was visible, measurable action. And that distinction reinforced the credibility of the government's economic strategy. She pointed directly to Windsor, where 3,000 new jobs were created at the Nexstar battery plant, a project the Conservatives opposed. She asked why anyone would stand against 3,000 jobs in Windsor. Then she moved to St. Thomas, a Conservative riding, where another 4,000 jobs were created. Again, the question landed with precision. Why oppose investment that puts Canadians to work? Why not work together to attract new capital into the auto sector? All of this, she emphasized, was happening alongside active coordination with Ontario on a comprehensive auto strategy. In her final interventions, Joly widened the lens further. This was no longer just about one industry or one dispute. She spoke about backing companies that commit to domestic production and workforce development. She framed industrial policy as a national project, one that places Canada inside a global competition for resilience, innovation, and technological leadership. The subtext was clear. This country is choosing to be proactive, not reactive. When challenged, she addressed the long-term data directly. Claims were corrected. Context was restored. She noted that Japanese automakers once accounted for less than half of auto production and now represent more than 3/4. Her conclusion followed naturally. Canada will invest in those who invest in Canada. Support will go to those who ensure Canadian auto workers remain employed, trained, and competitive in the years ahead. What this session ultimately revealed was not just disagreement, but two fundamentally different visions of leadership. The opposition leaned on repetition, emotional appeals, and simplified narratives. The government responded with preparation, structure, and strategic clarity. Mark Carney demonstrated that credibility is built through coherence, foresight, and institutional strength. Mélanie Joly reinforced that Canada is prepared to confront external pressure while investing deliberately in long-term competitiveness. Together, their performances sent a clear signal. Canada is not merely reacting to events as they unfold. It is shaping them. It is not improvising under pressure. It is planning carefully, deliberately, in a world where that difference matters more than ever.